prop tech CEOs like Glenn Kelman get onto Twitter. They fire a shot out at Chris, looking for sympathy tears, looking for people to feel bad for them. He's raised hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't feel bad for him. Welcome to the walkthrough, where every week we go deep on real estate's most trending topics. We check them off one by one with a rotating panel of the biggest brains in real estate. I am Byron Lazine, your co-host, along with Eric Simon, the broke agent. Eric is more, I don't know, is Eric more Skip or is Eric more Shannon? I don't know which one he would be.
Suck. I'm my own person.
Well said.
There you go. And with us today, of course, two OGs from the walkthrough. We're going to be recapping the epic cold call event that we had yesterday. We've got Dan O'Neill from Long Island. Dan and his team are the top team on the island. They are absolutely crushing it. You may know Dan from Instagram. If you don't, you should be following him there. We also have Tom Toole from just outside Philadelphia. Tom Toole and his team did well over $200 million in 2022. Tom is an objection king, and we are privileged to have both of you gentlemen. We are honored, Eric, are we not, to have both of these guys?
This is the first episode, the first walkthrough of the year, and we couldn't have two better guests.
That's right.
I mean, love you, Dan, man. You're the best. You're incredible. You were so great yesterday. I know I need to shower you in compliments nonstop. You look great. Your hair is perfect. Your chair, everything's great. Everything's great.
We're 2 minutes into the episode. We're going to already start chirping each other?
These aren't chirps. Byron, I'm going to get into a quick ad read here. The Walkthrough podcast is presented by Keeping Current Matters, your go-to source for the insights and content you need to be the market expert. KCM is the best in the business at taking the latest housing data and curating it into powerful visuals and marketing content for video and social media that help you look great and give tons of value to your clients and prospects. At a time when the market's changing and consumers are asking questions most agents don't know the answer to, KCM makes it easy to build your brand as the market expert. Check out trykcm.com/BAM so you can master the market and your marketing today. There's a link down in the description for that. Click it immediately.
Eric, you delivered that KCM ad read with a
Eric,
fierce.
You did great. You look fantastic.
Yeah.
Your complexion is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The background behind you it's never been better.
That's right.
Hit the thumbs up button if you have just never heard Eric perform on a KCM ad read like that before. I mean, a little bit of anger in Eric's voice today. Do you hear that in the comments? Is Eric, steaming a little bit after maybe the greatest night in BAM's history last night? Let's jump right into it. Topic one, the BAM expired cold call listing recap. Tom Toole, Dan O'Neill, and myself went one by one, making expired cold calls on this channel for a 2-hour period. We used Mojo. We used Vulcan 7. We used a whole bunch of different lists and tactics and scripts to generate appointments. If you missed that, search expired cold call listings on this channel. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. We'll be doing more of these. Tom, start with you. Your big takeaway from the 2-hour cold call event. Tom is out of production with his team, but he's a 20-year vet of making these calls. Your experience last night and the recap from you.
So the recap was that what I saw is you make things happen by picking up the phone and making outbound calls. There's no question there. I mean, you looked at you and Dan both set, Byron, I think 2 to 3 appointments each. Byron had the most solid appointment out of all of them, of the actual listing appointment versus Dan buying all of Long Island like he's a monopoly. So all things, all joking aside, look at what happened in 2 hours of people that are this isn't my primary job anymore. I'm letting, I'm here to lead our team. I'm functioning in a different role than I have over the past, 19 years as we transition out of production, to your point. Skills still last. That's something I've practiced a long time. You guys set the stage by following the script, going through it, setting appointments, just asking for people to meet and asking more than once. What this shows you is that if any of us can call expireds, anyone watching this can call expireds. And as much as you say I'm the expired king and all that stuff, which I do agree with, sometimes you're not going to get any appointments. These things come in bunches. You guys got 2 or 3. I made 89 phone calls and got 0, zilch. And if I was in production, I'd be getting back on the phone the next day. And that's really what matters the most. Anyone can call leads one day in a row. If you want to be serious about this, you got to be able to take the L, take the nose, and grind it out. And I think it was really relevant seeing that after the FSBO call I set up, where it's like, oh, that's easy. I made 3 calls. I set a listing appointment. Well, then usually what happens is you have a big dry spell after that, maybe get 2 or 3 in bunches. And I'm glad the audience saw that. And so my demeanor, I didn't change. I had the same demeanor I had the entire time, because you can't let this get to you.
Tom, you are the epitome of that Deion Sanders Jr. bar that is trending out there. Took L's and walked around like I was undefeated. You kept your chin up last night despite the L's.
Did Byron just rap right there? Did you hear that, Dan? But he had
like
a little hip hop cadence right there.
That was like Byron at the Super Bowl. You should have seen this guy in Naples. My God, he was standing up going.
Dan, all right, Dan, your recap on the Cold Call event, not the Super Bowl.
As always, whenever we do one of these events, I think that the industry wins. My phone was blowing up off the hook between Instagram, text messages. I had people that were messaging me that they had the live stream up in their office. I had people I've spoken to in years, that were reaching out to me saying how beneficial it was. Eric and I just did my mastermind. We had 2 people in there that said after they got off the call that they went and called expireds and got appointments themselves. So more than anything, I think it shows, the real estate industry wins. And Tom's exactly right. You're not always going to have luck. There's going to be days where if you're door knocking, you're going to get your finger slammed to the door. It happens. You're going to make cold calls. People aren't going to answer. They're going to tell you to buzz off, and you have to just keep going. And I think also what's important is everybody's going to have a different way of doing it, right? Everyone's going to have a different script. Everybody's going to have something that works for them. So what works for Byron is going to be different that works for Tom, and what works for me. But finding what works for you is the most important. And you do that. You don't just do it one day by waking up and, all of a sudden you know what you're doing. You do it by practicing and making the calls and getting the experience and learning what works. And what I loved the most was Tom and I had that call after we did the walkthrough a couple of weeks ago where he went 1 for 1. And he was like, I don't know what just happened, but like, I'm so energized. Like, I'm all jazzed up. Like, I still got it. I can't believe like I went 1 for 1. That was amazing. Like I had adrenaline. And in that hour, Tom set an appointment for somebody on his team. Byron, you set 3 appointments for people on your team yesterday. I set 4 appointments for agents on my team yesterday. So I think it just shows that if we could all do it, anybody can. It's just a matter of putting the time, the effort, the energy in, and truly believing in it, right? Like there's so many people, unfortunately, that have gotten a little bit lazy, who have, forgotten how to do those things, or maybe they haven't had to. And this is a real good reminder that you got to start doing them again.
It was such a great break from the social media stuff that we're constantly pushing. Just like the actual getting back to basics and getting in the weeds of that, and echoing what you said, Dan, about the 3 different styles. That was what was being littered in the comments so much. It's just like, I love that Dan's like personable. He's like getting to know these people. He's kind of coming from the buyer perspective. Like, you're interested in buying the house. Some people thought that was a little skeezy, but I think you explained it well, where you said like, well, I am a potential buyer of this house. Mm-hmm. And then Tom backed you up on that. But the 3 different styles, kind of more scripted to the more like, I'm going to get to know you and be your friend type of thing, I think was great for the audience. And then also I loved what Tom said about how like, this is showing what it really is. The fact that he called 70 plus people and 1 or 2 people picked up, he got hung up on by that one person, his son was the listing agent, and it's been listed for like 24 years or something like that. Maybe it was 24 months. I don't know. But
1,200 days.
Like that showed 1,200 days. 1,200 months. That's like,
well, and you got to think too, what I liked the most about it, not to cut you off, Eric, was, Byron and
You
Tom,
did.
you guys have been out of production for quite some time now, and you guys are running a large team at a very high level. But not a lot of people have been around to see those days when you were listing 100 homes and you were making these calls. And for me too, a little bit, right? Like they see the social media, but they don't actually see the serious side behind it and the work and the time and the energy that we have put in and how we've built and gotten to this level. So I think yesterday was a really good, like, kind of peel back the scenes of what exactly has gotten us to where we are today.
The comments were great in the chat too. People commenting on, like, people loved Tom, even though Tom actually wasn't getting answers. People said what Tom just said, like, your demeanor didn't change. You were standing up, you were smiling, you had good posture. And I think a lot of that stuff does matter when you're making these calls, is the way you look and the way you're presenting yourself. Like if you're sitting there slouched over, like, damn, no one's picking up this call, this sucks. Like you're not going to be yourself when you're talking on the phone. So I think that was a great takeaway.
Yeah, and everybody should be standing up like Tom was. I was sitting down, Dan was sitting down, but typically you would want to be standing up when you're making these calls. I'll go to a Deion Sanders Sr. quote. I had a Deion Sanders Jr. quote earlier, but you were talking about practice, Dan, and this comes to mind. He talks about Deion Sanders says, I practice like it's a game so that when I get into the game, it feels like practice. And that's the point that Dan made, is you want to really hone in your scripts. You want to have an a la carte of confident phrases and questions that will convert with a lead over the phone that you can go to and grab at any given time because you've practiced these so often. And when you're in the game, it just feels like practice. Listen, I had been off of making expired cold calls for well over 3 years when I dove in last night. But because of 7+ years of repetition with those questions and those scripts and that tonality, I knocked the dust off very quickly. That prototypical expired listing appointment that Tom referred to earlier as being the most solid appointment, I would say it's the most prototypical situation that you experience with a real expired seller who's had some frustration. I asked for the appointment 6 times. That is something that, you don't do when you first start making these calls. I certainly didn't on my first, 100 or even 1,000 expired calls. I wouldn't ask for the appointment 6 times, but when you build context, ask the right questions, loop back around into getting them to open up, then you can go and continue to ask for that appointment. The other, referencing the teams, this was the most beneficial content I believe BAM has done for the industry. I mean, the debates, I love the debates, but this
I think
really,
this stops the debates.
This shows.
You're welcome.
This shows what every, coach, real estate influencer online, every pontificator online talks about, and we did it. Okay, it's like these are 3 licensed professionals making the calls. We're going to do a whole, in the comments, hit the thumbs up as well if you want us to do more circle prospecting, FISBOs, and all of that. And so when I look at, like, wow, my team got to experience that with me, some of them here in the office, some of them haven't seen me that have been here just less than 3 years make these calls. And I've been pontificating and talking about it. So going in there, getting the dirt under the fingernails felt good. I said to Eric last night, I said, it felt like as if, we went out and played some backyard football. I haven't put the pads on since high school, but we go out there and play a little backyard football for an hour. Nobody gets hurt. You're going to feel like a man again. You're going to say, wow, I did something out there.
Tom and I had that same conversation last week when we did the walkthrough. We were talking about it for almost an hour. And Byron, to touch on what you were saying,
it wasn't an hour. I mean, don't get it. It was maybe 15 minutes.
It was, or whatever, maybe 2 hours. Leave me alone. What I love what you said though, Byron, is even though you haven't done it in 3 years, you still have the confidence, right? You have that muscle memory, and all 3 of us, whether it be social proof, whether it be knowing the area. Byron, you had an example of somebody that lives in Naples. I had an example of somebody that knew my uncle from my phone number, somebody that knew where I grew up. Like we're very easy to relate. I can relate to anybody in any situation. And that's part of our skill set, is you have to be relatable, and you have to.
Byron booked a tee time basically. One of his
Basically.
calls, he's going to go
Let's hope
play
not.
like
I
the
mean, this
Four
guy's
Seasons
handicaps
after
of
this.
400. Let's hope he doesn't get on the course.
I think you might want to fly down Naples and recheck that handicap, Dan. If you're listening to the walkthrough right now,
400.
go over to 400.
Yeah,
Insane.
That's crazy.
If you're listening to the
Go
walkthrough
shoot
right
at
now,
472.
make sure you get over to the YouTube and search expired cold calls on Now Bam is the handle for the YouTube. Make sure you search that video and definitely check it out if you missed it.
I got one more thing. So obviously the content piece was great. We had 1,300 plus live viewers for basically an hour, almost 1,000 sustained throughout the entire 2 hours. So there's such a hunger for this content. And I think from a promotion standpoint, it was so successful. Like, you guys were on the call. I'm just going to toot my horn a little bit here to sustain that. Like, we're going live, we're tweeting it out, we're posting it to Facebook. Like, a lot in the background goes into creating an event like this to get people hyped, make sure people know about it like weeks in advance, post on the website. Like, there's a lot of marketing that goes into this. So it was really awesome to see that there was a hunger for this type of content and that people watched throughout the entire thing. So thank you to everybody who attended. It was awesome.
I think it's going to be the first of many, right? We got to do.
We're going to do a bunch. We're going to do a bunch.
We owe it to the industry to keep doing this because there's way too many people out there that attribute Instagram and influencing and videos and all the other stuff that does not directly correlate to selling houses, especially in a climate like this. And you can definitely make money doing that. I'm not saying that. Byron, you said on the beginning, you were raised on cold calls. That's how you got into the business. The only reason I'm sitting here is because in 2008, when the market crashed, I decided to call expired listings because I needed business because everything was sphere-based. And I became a specialist in that business. And if you can become good at one thing, Dan, you said this earlier, be really good at one thing. There's one way to do this. It can be another way that works really well for you. You've got to be a specialist in one area. Then you work your sphere and you find some sort of internet leads, whether it's Instagram or a funnel or whatever else. That's all you need to do. But this was listing focused, and those who list will last in this business. So the more we can bring that to the real estate community, the better off everyone's going to be, including consumers.
And I would get to know a script so you can pick from the options. The first couple of years I made these calls in my career, I was setting appointments, but it wasn't until I got that TF script that I really started bringing my conversion to the next level. And so it's important to really practice. We got a Redfin drama, complete Twitter meltdown that we're going to get to in topic 3. But before that, topic number 2, Tom, you wrote an article on BAM, which segues really nicely from this cold call topic. It's one thing to get onto, your dialer or make calls for 2 hours, but you are now going to generate, like we did last night, a bunch of follow-up opportunities, a whole bunch of new leads, and you're going to have notes that you have to take and things that you committed to the next day that you need to send over. I did that for that Friday 1 p.m. appointment just this morning. And so you wrote an article, how to organize your lead generation time as you're prospecting for new business, like cold calls, but then creating follow-ups for yourself and, following up on current deals. How does someone organize their lead generation time? Break down the article for us.
Sure. So the whole point of this, and you have one takeaway from this segment: prep before you show up at the office. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And there are times, there's a reason we did this 4 to 6 yesterday. That's one of the 2 times, according to the Harvard Business Review, that you will get more people on the phone than you will at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday, right? I mean, you got to realize there's a better time to do this. And if you're burning that time getting ready to work, it can really screw up your ability to set up the appointments. So with that, in this article, and this is something that we put out these tips every week on YouTube, is really there's 2 types of leads that are out there. You got your people that know you and the people that don't know you. Most realtors play in the safe zone. They only work the people they know. This group is a lot bigger. There's way more people that don't know you. So part of that is, how are you going to work each of these? Because calling an expired listing is very different than calling your sphere, or the follow-up call to the expired listing you talked to 3 months ago that was waiting until after the new year because they were going on vacation, or whatever the situation is. So when I was in production, which was not that long ago, I got out in April of 2021, 9 to 11, you were looking for me. I'm at my stand-up desk on the sales floor making calls. But it wasn't just making calls. I had a system in place to do this where any new leads that came in overnight, they got to get hit first. And I'm sometimes even calling them in the car on the way into the office. But then there's the follow-ups, and this is where realtors break down. They don't follow up with their leads. Byron, you said you've sent something out to that appointment this morning. When I was in production, anytime I set a listing appointment, they got a personalized video from me the next day at the latest prior to the appointment. That increases your sign rate. That creates stickiness around the appointment. And I've said this a million times. Byron, you've probably heard me say it at every Tom Ferry event that's out there. Anytime I speak, do this. People still don't do it. The more you do this, the more you're going to convert at the appointments. But with new leads, you got to call the new leads. Then you want to make your outbound calls. Listing focus is what I recommend. Then call your older leads, like the watch leads, the ones that we use Boomtown. So that's what, that's how we categorize it. But the old leads that need some attention. And if you break it down and like, okay, I'm going to do this day, and you have a game plan walking in, it could be any game plan you have. That's what the article goes into. You want to call your hot people, your new leads first. Make sure you're hitting your sphere every day, any scheduled follow-ups, and then the older leads, because old leads, trash and archive leads, they typically convert around 15%. And a lot of folks ignore those because they don't follow. They call them once and they leave it alone. So if you have the time blocks in place, like a block within the block, if you guys follow what I'm saying, then you're going to be way more organized, and you're going to know, you're going to walk in the door at the office, grab your AirPods or whatever you're using, put them in, open your laptop, and start calling. That's what a professional does that knows how to hunt. And the people that sit there, they go get a cup of coffee, they dick around, they're talking about how the Sixers won with Joel Embiid last night. Like, nobody cares. You're here to set appointments. And there's too much of this nonsense in real estate. I don't want to talk to anyone until after 11 o'clock, period.
Yeah. I love the back and forth there of your brain is basically focused on one type of call for an hour or 2 hours in that block, and then it switches to another focus. So if you're calling expireds and you're getting told to screw off half the time, and then you call an old friend, and then you call an expired, you're not really in the same mode. Mm-hmm. So not that I've done this in 5 years, but I totally appreciate what you're saying. It makes complete sense. Like, you want to be having similar conversations because it's those dialogue trees and thought patterns that make sense within that concise period of time. So I love that.
And we have to prioritize follow-up as much as these initial cold calls, because you have a conversation with somebody, you take notes, you put it into your database, whatever you're using, whatever system that you have, you've now invested time and started to create a relationship. It would be like going out into your backyard, planting a couple seeds for a garden, watching them sprout, and then ignoring it for the next month and letting weeds take over. You're letting other agents take over that relationship that you created the minute you stop tending to it and you start ignoring it and you don't follow up consistently. This business is all about follow up and follow through. Dan, any systems or reactions to Tom's article on prioritizing lead generation time?
Yeah, so I think it's something that a lot of people need to, if they're not now, they need to implement immediately. So I just wrote down a couple of strategies that I do myself and that I try to have my team do as well. So every Sunday I'll be in the office and I will make sure that my entire inbox, whether it's my emails, my Instagram DMs, any text messages that I might have missed throughout the week, any phone calls I need to get back to, I'll make sure those are all cleaned up, my CRM as well. The other thing that I do daily is, obviously we all know the Tom Ferry 5542 method, where I'll call 5 in my database, 5 new clients, 4 circle, right? Like whether it's to attorneys, to lenders, checking up on deals, making sure that everything is getting pushed through. And then the 2 is videos. So I will send a personalized video to 2 people, whether it's somebody in my sphere or a new client.
You forgot the 10 calls you make to me, peppering me all day with content ideas.
I also call Eric 10 times as well. I also have with my team a 2-hour a week war room where we will open up a Zoom and we will all sit there on mute and we'll all make our calls for an hour long, whether that be follow-up or that be new clients. I also have in my contacts on my phone, a past clients tab, as well as lukewarm clients tab or cold tab, and in my email as well. So that way, if I want to send out an email to, let's say, CEOs of businesses around town, I could just send them a direct email. If I want to send an email to my past clients, I could send them a direct email, because I don't want to just blast everyone with the same content, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to send, the CEO of the nicest restaurant in town a video of me in the Grinch outfit. That's going to go to people that I know are going to like it. So I have it separated in my email, in my contacts, in my phone, as well as the war room that we do with labels. And I also have Collaborate, which is a service that my MLS allows us to use, where I have all my clients that are lukewarm, cold, whatever. And this will actually send me the listings every single day. It's almost like a daily hot sheet. So now I could text them and say, hey, or call them, hey, did you see 123 Main Street came out of the market? I know you guys haven't been looking for 3 or 4 months, but I think this actually might be, match your criteria. There's no harm in taking a look. So those are some of the things that I enact. And I think it's just really important to have that discipline of like setting the time every single week, time blocking, where 2 hours, no one's bothering you, your phone's on do not disturb, you're making those calls, you're following up. I think that's key.
Tom, something that you mentioned earlier this week on the 5 a.m. call, which, by the way, 5 a.m. call now presented by BAM. You mentioned that how you do anything is how you do everything. It's why I'm such a believer, and Tom and I have, been on this journey with the 5 a.m. call for years, for over half a decade now, where we commit to having a real structure around our morning routine, because how you do your morning is how you're going to do your day. So if you wake up frazzled, you wake up guessing what you're going to have to breakfast, guessing what you're going to put on, guessing what time you should leave, guessing what time you should go to the office. You don't have a consistency around that. Guess what? When you get to the office, you're going to be guessing what you should do next instead of having a systematic time block. The best salespeople have a time block, get into action, because they don't have to think about getting into action. The system is already set up for them to do it. It's why I believe whether you're waking up early or not, controlling the first half, the first third of your day is going to trickle into the rest of your day. And maybe if you have like a system where, hey, 7, 8 o'clock, I get into the office, I do inbox cleanup. Even when you're cleaning up inbox, you want to think about, what am I going to attack here during this email cleanup? If you haven't read the Gary Keller book, The One Thing, just asking yourself that question, what's the one thing in this 1 hour that is going to move the needle the furthest, that's going to make the biggest impact on this day right now in this hour? What's that one thing? Focus on that till it's done.
Byron, I have one more point that I think is important about follow-up, and I think you'll appreciate this statistic. 35% of people buy within the first 30 to 60 days of you meeting them. The other 65% of people buy 90 days or longer after the first point of contact. Yeah. That is why follow-up is so crucial, and is something that we have been lacking for the last few years because we've been a little bit spoiled.
Yeah, as an industry as a whole, absolutely. All right, topic 3, maybe my favorite topic we've ever covered on the walkthrough. Okay, here we go. Chris Smith puts out a tweet on his personal Twitter, December 29th. And he had a string of about 6 of these where he made a graphically designed, a front-facing website for 6 different companies. And it was satire. They were funny posts and graphics that he posted. He made one of Redfin. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it on your screen. The Redfin post says, if real estate companies kept it real with their homepage. Okay, so that's the headline of the tweet. The Redfin graphic reads, people love using our app. Using our agents, not so much. That got a response from Glenn Kelman, of course, the CEO for 18 years of Redfin. He responded the next day on December 30th, why mock-up insults over the holidays? If you had bad service from a Redfin agent, please tell us. Redfin customers are more likely to use us again. For 7 years, we've sold homes for more money. For 18, we've gained share. It's talking about market share. It might be CEO prop tech definition there. The people you are disparaging are my colleagues, and my friends. He followed that tweet up with another tweet. And if you have no data or even anecdotal experience to back this up, beyond Jurassic era attitudes towards brokers competing on price, please take it down. You're better than this, Chris. We have a BAM article that just includes all of the reactions from Twitter, from Instagram. BAM staff did a great job putting this together. And a lot of people knew it was satire. At Joshua L. Dawson, he puts Chappelle up there and he's like, jokes, Glenn, jokes. These are jokes. I did a little bit more of a serious tone to my tweet. I asked Glenn, what are the holidays and leveraging hundreds of millions of dollars in capital for your share have to do with satire? Have a hot cocoa, Glenn, and focus on minus 89.11%.
Have a hot cocoa.
Which the
Ridiculous.
minus 89.11% happens to be their stock for the year 2022. I also sent him a tweet asking him to come on here and do a BAM debate. We'll do a live debate with Glenn. It's one thing, and I'm going to get your guys' reactions. You can go to the BAM article, which we'll link in the show notes, to get all the different reactions. There were some people that said, like Nick Terrell said, this is leadership from the heart. I like you. So he was supportive of Glenn. There was support of Glenn. There was support of, Chris that knew this was a joke. There was others who posted the Redfin stock price. So there was a lot of that. My whole thing is, hey, come on this platform where agents actually consume what's going on in their industry. It's one thing to go up and do a panel on Inman where it is going to be nothing but softball questions, and you're going to give softball answers to a room full of people looking at their Twitter feed anyways. Why don't you come on here, do a live YouTube debate on BAM, Glenn, and we'll get Chris, and you can bring a guest if you'd like, and every single agent in the industry, Redfin agents and other agents, can discuss this openly on the chat room, like we did last night when we had thousands of people commenting in the comments of a YouTube live video. Glenn, I challenge you, Redfin CEO, to come onto BAM and have this conversation in a long format, open debate style. It'll be good for the industry. I'd love to see you on here, Glenn. Your guys' reactions to what happened with Chris and Glenn on Twitter.
So I have an anecdotal Redfin experience. I have exactly what Glenn wants. And hopefully Glenn is much nicer to you at T360 than the other Glenn at EXP. And we will see him, hopefully. But I had a home we had sold about a year and a half ago, towards the end of 2020. The driveway was at best a 45-degree angle. So not the driveway most people want. I mean, it's like sits on top of a cliff, horrible yard. We sold the home.
Thanks, Eric.
Yes. Some people might not know 45 degrees. So we get an offer. We had maybe 15 showings.
60.
No call before the offer. No heads up it's coming in. We've got, and it's not me not picking up the phone. We have a staff. My cell phone rings to the staff when I was in production. We have multiple ways to get notified of this stuff. The offer just comes in an email above the asking price for no good reason, represented by a Redfin agent. This same client interviewed with an agent from my office, and the agent from my office told me they were hammering him on the fee. So they ended up saving, by his calculations at the Redfin number, about $3,000 on the transaction. But they came in well above the asking price on this property, and the sellers would have accepted the ask had the Redfin picked up the phone and called me and said, what kind of activity do you have? What's going on? And it's a prime example of the consumer losing money because they're focused on costs and not on what they're actually going to net, because Redfin didn't do professional photos for the home. The listing didn't sell above the asking price that they sold. Like, this is a documented and proven anecdotal instance where I found in the marketplace. Had the Redfin agent done what Byron, you're telling your team, Dan, you're telling your team, our number one question when our people want to write an offer is, what did the listing agent say when you called them? That's the first thing we ask. You got to get the intel. They didn't do that. And this was the end of 2020. It wasn't like 2021. This was in December. So the market was moving a little slower then. A phone call would have saved that person money, and that person did not do it. And I've heard this many times from folks that work with Redfin or former Redfin agents. They're showing 50 homes in a day. They get paid by the showing. Don't send feedback. Don't return calls. I mean, that's not very professional. And that's one of the biggest complaints about real estate agents is that they don't call people back. So there's my anecdotal evidence, Glenn. Come on the show.
Well, there's plenty of evidence online. All Glenn has to do is go on to Google and search his company for their reviews. Listen.
Well, I mean, he's already got thin skin as it is. If he's commenting on Chris Smith's clearly satirical tweet, I mean, if this guy's going
Which
on,
was hysterical,
Google,
by the way.
It's important to note too that Chris was attacking 6 different companies. Like, what did he say about Open Door? He said, we make it really easy to get a really bad offer, which is hilarious. That one crushed. He said Realtor.com is like Zillow, but for boomers.
That was good.
So it wasn't just an attack on Redfin. He attacked like 6 real estate tech companies.
Trulia.
And it's Trulia, exactly. He's like, why is this
Our
still even
CEO is
exist?
an asshole. That's what it says right there.
So, Haley, I'd like you to get that. I just sent you a screenshot. I'd like you to put that screenshot up when you get a chance. I know it might take a couple minutes, but you're going to see a screenshot that Haley's going to put up here in a second. This is a tweet from Spencer Raskoff. Of course, Spencer, the long tenured CEO of Zillow.
Friend of the show.
Spencer, sure, absolutely. A friend of the show. I mean, he did a BAM interview, which was probably his best produced interview of all time. But Spencer took the Chris Smith tweet and he retweeted it with a crying laugh emoji. Okay, so Spencer Raskoff, who is the prop tech godfather of the industry, he is the kingpin when it comes to prop tech. He saw the joke, he saw the satire, and he retweets it. And here it is with the crying emoji. Yeah. If you go onto Twitter right now and you look at Spencer Raskoff's timeline, this tweet is since deleted. Okay, and prop tech CEOs across the board get on Twitter and, like Glenn did, and I just think, Spencer, leave the tweet up, Spencer, please. It was a good tweet. It was acknowledging the joke, because prop tech CEOs like Glenn Kelman get onto Twitter, they fire a shot out at Chris, looking for sympathy tears, looking for people to feel bad for them. He's raised hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't feel bad for him. Where it's like, you're really dissing on my friends and my colleagues. First of all, it was a joke backed up by plenty of reviews on Redfin agents. Redfin, and listen, it's your business model, Glenn, that has failed your agents to some degree. Discount agents don't work. It's been proven for decades in this industry. You proved it again in the last 18 years that discount agents as a model does not work. But why can't you, after firing off that tweet, get back into Twitter and continue the conversation? Why are you now going to go into hiding and wait until your next panel? Why are you not going to come onto a debate and really have a long form conversation about it? You just fire off this, poor little me with hundreds of millions of, capital being raised. You guys should feel bad for me. And then we don't hear anything from you. It's sad to see these CEOs that don't have any backbone to get onto Twitter and defend themselves.
I think he's really going to want to come on the show after that rant. I think that's the deal.
Well, no, listen.
Good thing there's no Redfin Flex, huh?
Hey, Redfin, by the way, I use your technology all the time. Your technology is fantastic. I mean, so I'm not, when we do a debate, guys, I am down the middle. I will be completely fair. And I want Glenn to come on here and talk. If we get Glenn on, trust me, we're going to give him the platform to talk over 50% of the time. I will not fill up the
but
air
Byron, don't
like I am on this
50.01%
podcast.
of the time.
But listen, don't you think that like if you're a CEO, you cannot be thin-skinned that way? I mean, we've been on
They
this
all
podcast
are. They're all
for
afraid to say
56
something.
minutes. We've said meaner things to each other on this podcast today, right now, than anything that was ever tweeted for him. So it's like, how do you waste your time, money, and the energy to respond back to that? It's like it's clearly a joke.
Maybe he had a couple hot cocos and was in his feels over the
Some-
the holiday
Tipsy hot
depression. But
cocos. Irish
exactly,
hot cocos.
if he didn't tweet this out or didn't respond to this tweet or did what Spencer did. By the way, Chris Smith made fun of Zillow in that tweet, and Spencer retweeted it with the crying laughing face. If Glenn Kelman did that or just didn't even respond, this probably isn't even a story. And Chris Smith just posted something funny. So all he did is create this, conversation topic around it, which pokes more holes in Redfin. Also, what's with all the CEOs being named something similar? You have Glenn Kelman, you have Glenn Sanford, you have Gary Keller. They all kind of come from a similar cloth here. I don't know if there's anything to that.
Definitely
look into.
Hey, so Glenn did one day ago jump in and reply to at Vicky Moore, who said, "I take the efforts of Redfin Zillow at all efforts to disintermediate realtors. Personally, I'm surprised at the sensitivity to a joke as opposed to the reality of being an actual target of destruction." Vicky, Redfin is so Glenn responded one day ago. So he's still following this, and he did pick a spot here. Redfin is comprised of thousands of realtors. We pay millions in dues. So he's letting Vicky know, hey, we're also realtors here, and
Discount realtors.
we're competing. We're a competing broker with you. I would just love to see Glenn talk about this in a longer format than a tweet. Why he got so offended.
Byron, do you think that you instigated? Do you think you put a little gasoline on that fire on that Twitter thread?
No, I don't. I mean, everything he wanted stats. That's a stat on the.
I replied to this also, by the way. And I think I said, your agents are subpar at best. I've dealt with them. Sweet website. And then someone said, there's lots of subpar agents and they go into 50-50 splits with teams, which I would totally disagree with because teams actually have standards instead of opening doors and showing houses. You have to sell things. The problem with CEOs, Byron, is that their job is directly tied to what the stock price does.
That's right.
And Redfin's stock price is getting flushed right now. I mean, we heard Rich Barton on the earnings call a couple years ago with Zillow when they were in a really bad spot. I mean, he was stammering, and you and I have seen him speak twice live now in the room. These guys, there's no job security because they don't own their companies. They're subject to the stock price and market forces. And this business model is flawed. To your point, I've never seen a discount brokerage make it. How many of them have failed? I can go down the list. I probably forget some as long as I've been in the industry. And Redfin's feeling it right now, and they're probably going to get sold. So I think that's the reality of why Glenn is so sensitive, because he's worried about losing his job.
So it would only cost, theoretically, based off market cap, $483 million to buy Redfin. Not a lot of money. Not a lot of money. Zillow's market cap swallows that of Redfin's market cap 16, 17, 18 times over, sitting over the $8.3 billion mark. These are not shots at Redfin. These are just statistics that are obvious, transparent, and on the stock market. 483 million would not be, CoStar comes along. Watch out, by the way. If Andy Florence over at CoStar decides to buy up Redfin,
when things get interesting. Redfin's got the best website. Everyone loves their website. The consumers have proven it.
I mean, I think consumers still go to Zillow more often per the numbers, but I like the Redfin.
The functionality. Listen, I'm talking about the user experience. Not Zillow gets more traffic. No debate there.
When I talk to new agents that do not have access to the MLS, who want to start learning the language of real estate and who want to start learning about their marketplace that they're getting ready to serve into, I tell 100% of them, start studying the Redfin data center every single day. Really? Put in your geo metro area. It's great information. You don't have a license yet, so you don't have access to the MLS. So go on the Redfin data center. I'm not denying the technology. I'm not denying the accomplishments that Glenn has had as a CEO for 18 years. What I have a problem with is this "I'm better than you are" attitude from prop tech CEOs who fire off one or two tweets and think they made an impact on disseminating information in the industry. And they get on one or two softball question panels per year and they don't go a little bit deeper. People want you to go deeper. Do it for the industry. Let's have a ball on BAM. All right, let's go to our fourth. Let us know what you think too, by the way, on this topic down in the comments. Let's go to our fourth topic. This is Facebook changing some rules as it relates to real estate listings. Facebook new rules for real estate listings. We'll link the BAM article down below. On December 29th, Meta announced users will no longer be able to promote real estate or vehicle listings on Facebook Marketplace through their business page. Okay, so incomplete wording created confusion in the real estate community regarding whether agents can still promote listings in the marketplace. This is directly from Meta. Starting on January 30th, 2023, Meta will no longer support the ability for all sellers to create vehicle and real estate/rental listings using a Facebook business page, along with the vehicles tab and manage inventory tab in markets where this feature is currently available. Meta Business Help Center. Okay, so I don't know. Do you, Dan, do you, Eric, know any real estate agent who has been using Facebook Marketplace, basically, Craigslist 2.0 to feature their listings?
You use Facebook Marketplace to sell stuff like Hot Wheels cars or like former N64 controllers or something like that. Not real estate
furniture.
So,
My wife.
I don't even know where to find Facebook Marketplace. I want to be caught dead on the app.
My wife will give away like baby, like when the baby gets a new age and we don't need baby stuff cluttering the house. Facebook Marketplace is the dumping ground for that stuff.
If you're an agent and you're posting your listings on Facebook Marketplace, you should be thrown in prison. The only thing I do see on Facebook Marketplace from time to time, though, is a consumer or like a for sale by owner, putting out there like a basement rental, right? Like $1,200 rental, 1 bedroom in my basement. That's the only thing, but not an agent.
And so that's going to be allowed because somebody who has a personal page who's not a licensed real estate agent is allowed to go on to the marketplace and do that because it specifically says a business page cannot post on the marketplace. I guess some agents could still get away using their personal page. Tom, should agents be using their personal page on Facebook? Let's bat this around. Everybody give their quick opinion on this. Should agents focus on their personal Facebook page or their business page? Should they run both? If you had to pick one, which one would it be? We'll go Tom, Eric, then Dan on this.
Following a real estate page is a tall order. I don't think most consumers want to follow a real estate page. You look at the engagement on Facebook pages. I mean, we've got a pretty big following.
And you're talking business page, to be clear.
Business page, yeah. We maybe have 2,000 people that follow our page, and we've been doing this for a long time. The personal page is where all your connections are, right? And I think there's a marketing ploy there to connect with people on a relationship level. The only reason to run a business page is to run ads. That's it. I would be all the engagement I would push to personal.
Eric?
Yeah, totally agree. You get way more engagement on personal pages. Anytime we're sharing the Overask podcast, if we post it on the Broke Agent business page, that account, which has 150,000 follows, hopefully Tom's okay.
Jeez, Tom.
Really hates Facebook Marketplace.
This guy's a second day in a row with this. Holy crap. This guy's got the freaking whooping cough. Get this guy in a tailor.
Whooping cough. Isn't that just for babies? The whooping cough? Or is that the croup cough? I don't know. Where they put like oatmeal in your face and smash your head.
Black lung.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Tom on Facebook Marketplace. Jesus. Those glasses too.
What are you glasses? I know, seriously.
Holy crap. You look like Urkel with those on.
Looks like a 1930s sports.
Looks like a professional.
I see Tom in black and white right now. Looks like that's all it is.
Looks like he's about to announce a Cubs game and really feeling like the 70s.
Hanging out with Abraham Lincoln over here, talking about how we're passing the real estate laws.
The Wrigley Field in Chicago. You get way more. That was a Harry Carey impression. When Matt Leonetti posts on his personal page the Overask links, he gets way more engagement than if we posted on a page with 150,000 follows. So the point is, yes, Tom, that is where your connections are. That's where people who actually like you are following you. So you should post your stuff on your personal page.
I have both. I have business and personal, and I share my serious content and the listings and are sold and for sale on the O'Neill team page. And then I occasionally will post my own stuff on my own, and I do my lifestyle. But I do believe that in New York, because New York is, of course, the weirdest state in the world, pretty sure it's actually illegal to have a personal real estate page. So I'm pretty sure between yesterday's cold calls and now me admitting that I have a personal real estate page, yes, I'm going to be in jail, and I will probably be your assistant by tomorrow. So
What you're talking about, Dan, and this is the reality
I'm
in
serious.
some other states as well, is it's illegal to have a personal Facebook page and promote listings on it or promote business on it. Now, as a real estate professional, as just being part of your life, being part of your job, you certainly can post things on your personal Facebook page, even where it's illegal to post listings, and post stuff about, hey, take a picture of you heading over to the other side of town. I'm going over to this neighborhood on my way to a listing appointment. Tell a story about your day. Connect with people. Talk about the events at your office. All that's going to be fair game on your personal page. Your engagement's going to be way higher for people in your community. And then to Tom's point, just to wrap this topic up, yeah, the business page is still a necessity. You got to have both because you can't run ads on your personal page. All right, good show. I hope you feel better.
I feel great.
Glenn, if you do consume this, or I know people from Redfin have watched my content in the past, I am by no means trying to come at Glenn. I hope that didn't come off the wrong way.
Not at all.
I want to have a.
No,
I mean, you
come
guys
on
are
the
chirping
show.
me like it was.
Come
you guys
on
are
the
like,
show,
oh, I'm
Glenn.
sure. Come
You're
on
gonna
the
get
show
asked
now.
a bunch of softball questions with a softball audience on a softball.
Why don't you
panel.
come ball
come
for
into
Bam?
the Thunderdome
Yeah.
on Bam? and we
Deion
will
Sanders
crush you to
Jr.'s.
smithereens.
I'll tear your Achilles right off your goddamn leg.
We're
So-
going to try to
Yeah.
make you quit, Glenn. We're going to try to make you quit.
Listen,
Byron, any more Deion Sanders quotes to
Yeah,
top
how
this
many
off? You have
any
two
Biggie
already.
Smalls quotes? Byron,
listen,
what else?
Glenn.
In his
I'll
defense-
finish.
in his
I'll
defense,
finish
Coach
off
Prime-
with a Deion quote. I have one.
Coach
Go ahead.
Prime
How
is
many
unbelievable.
bombers do you have?
Yeah, so
Byron's got
Coach-
the
Coach
same
Prime's
bomber,
crushing it. He's
30
getting all
different
the
colors.
recruits to Boulder right now.
I've got a Coach Prime to end this episode. A Coach Prime quote that I'm going to leave here for Glenn Kelman, the Redfin CEO. With your invite to BAM, Glenn, which is an open invite, we want to have this open discussion with you. I respect you in this industry. You are certainly a game changer in the industry, more so than many other prop tech CEOs. Glenn, when you look good, you play good, Glenn. When you feel good, you play good, Glenn. When you play good, you play good. The BAM stage is an opportunity for you to come show the industry how you look about it, how you feel about it, and how you play about it. We want to give you the open 1 hour, 90 minutes, maybe even 2 hour platform to talk to the industry, your agents and all the other agents alike. Glenn, come find us, baby. We're waiting. That's the walkthrough for this week, boys. Appreciate you guys being here. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave us a comment if you want to see the Glenn Kelman BAM live debate right here on this YouTube channel.
I'm bringing my bag, and it's Louis.
We coming. BAM is coming, baby.
Yeah,
We
we
coming.
coming.